Okay, let's jump right into one of the biggest debates happening right now, the massive clash between generative AI and copyright law. And today, we're looking at a really fascinating new proposal coming out of India that might just change the entire game. And really, this whole complicated issue boils down to one simple but explosive question. Think about it. When an AI model scrapes billions of images, articles, and songs off the internet to train itself, is it just learning from our culture? Or is it pulling off the biggest heist in history?
Well, this isn't just some philosophical coffee shop debate anymore. A special committee under India's Ministry of Commerce and Industry just dropped a major working paper, and they've jumped right into the middle of this firestorm with a really bold new idea. Now, when you dig into AI and copyright, there are two huge legal headaches. The first is about the input, using copyrighted stuff to train the AI. The second is about the output, whether the things AI creates can even be copyrighted. In this explainer, we're going to zero in on that first one, because honestly, it's the foundation for everything else. All right, so here's our game plan. We'll set the stage with the big copyright question, hear from the two opposing camps, then unpack the legal mess we're in right now. After that, we'll explore India's pretty wild one-license solution and finish by asking what it could all mean for the future of AI.
So the goal for this committee was clear, but man, is it a tough one. They had to figure out how to protect the rights of artists and writers, all the creative folks, while also making sure we don't stifle the incredible innovation happening in AI. It's a real high-wire act, trying to balance creativity with progress.
And that tightrope walk really brings us to the two main players in this whole drama. On one side, you've got the creators, the people who own the rights to the work. On the other, the AI developers building these new tools. And believe me, they are not seeing eye to eye on this. This really lays out the fundamental disagreement. The rights holders are saying, hey, you can't just take our work without our permission and without paying us. It totally devalues what we do. But the developers fire back, look, we need access to huge amounts of data to make these tools innovative. We're not trying to copy your work, we're just learning the underlying patterns. It's a real standoff.
And this gets to the heart of the creators' biggest fear. They point to studies showing that these AI models sometimes don't just learn, they memorize. And they can reproduce stuff that's almost identical to the copyrighted work they were trained on. For creators, that line between learning and straight-up infringement is getting dangerously blurry.
So you might be wondering, how does the law handle all of this? The short answer is, it doesn't really. India's copyright law was built for a completely different era, a time that could have never imagined something like generative AI.
I mean, just look at this timeline. The core law is from 1957. Now, sure, there are exceptions for things like research or criticism, but there is a massive, gaping hole when it comes to AI. There's nothing in the rulebook that specifically allows for the kind of large-scale data mining that AI training needs. It's a total legal vacuum.
And this isn't just a theoretical problem. It is playing out in courtrooms as we speak. Major cases like ANI Media versus OpenAI are trying to settle a huge question. Does training an AI model fall under fair dealing? And because the law is silent, nobody really knows the answer. It's creating massive uncertainty for everyone involved.
So, faced with this total legal puzzle, the Indian committee didn't just suggest a few small changes. Nope, they proposed something much more radical. A brand new system designed to just cut right through all the complexity.
They're calling it the hybrid model, and the slogan kind of says it all. One nation, one license, one payment. The core idea is to get rid of the need for thousands of individual negotiations by creating one single universal license. So AI companies wouldn't have to track down millions of creators. They just work through one streamlined system.
So here's the three-step process for how it would work. First, AI developers pay royalties into a central pot run by a nonprofit. Second, that payment isn't a giant upfront fee. It's just a small percentage of the AI's revenue. And third, that nonprofit takes the money and distributes it to all the creators who registered their work. It's designed to be simple and easy for everyone.
Now, here's where it gets really controversial. Under this system, creators could not opt out. They couldn't say, no, you can't use my work. The trade-off is giving up that individual control in exchange for being part of a system with guaranteed universal payment. It really forces you to ask, is the right to say no more important than a system that ensures everyone gets paid as technology moves forward?
So how does this really bold idea stack up against what everyone else is doing? Let's zoom out and take a quick look at the other main approaches being tried around the world.
This table breaks it down nicely.
You've got voluntary licensing, which is basically making individual deals, super slow. Then you have the TDM exception model in places like the EU and Japan, where the law carves out an exception for data mining, often without any direct payment to creators. India's model is a true third way, a mandatory system that combines universal access with guaranteed payment.
And that leaves us with this final fascinating thought. By trying to forge this middle path, somewhere between a tech free-for-all and a system bogged down by individual permissions, India is proposing something genuinely new. It's an ambitious experiment, for sure, but if it works, could it actually become the global blueprint for how we handle the messy relationship between AI, art, and the law?